Hey there, I'm Chastity from MOHJU. Today I'll show you how to set up a system to export a PDF of an Airtable record that includes data from linked records and then send it via email. We'll use Make, a feature-rich and affordable alternative to Zapier. If you're familiar with Make, you can buy the blueprint package below for $10 and get started right away. It includes a sample Word document with setup instructions. All right, for this video, you'll need a free Airtable account, Dropbox with the file conversion to PDF automation, Microsoft 365 account, free or paid Make account, and optionally a free Stripe account for drag and drop HTML emails. All right, let's dive in. We're going to get started in Airtable, so pull up your Airtable table. And you can connect your linked records however way that you have it. I'm going to use my interface to do it. So I'm going to select for software apps to connect to a client. And right, so looking at my client's profile page, I see that I've connected these 4 apps. I'm going to add some notes here. And then I'm going to select report with automated email and PDF. So this is just my process. You guys might have a different process. So now jumping over to Make, we're going to create a new scenario. Connect Airtable. If you don't see it up here, these are just the ones I use a lot. So Airtable, watch records, and you're going to connect an Airtable account. If you don't already have one, you go over to Add. You select Airtable token or key. You change this name because if ever you come back and you add a second or third account, this is the default name for it. So if all of them are like this, you won't know which one you're choosing. Follow the steps on how to connect it, press or keep it at personal access token, and then copy paste it there. Choose your base. For me, it's going to be software strategy clients. Your table, I'm going to be looking at the clients because I want to make sure when the sent to exported field, which is a modified time field, is triggered, they're going to pull the full name and it's going to look at the ready for export view. So on my table, I have a view called ready for export, and this is where the final report will add here. And this sent to export it is timestamped for when this checkbox is completed, marked true. So back over here at Make, we'll leave this here, everything. Now that this is completed, we will right click on it, press run this module only. You can see up here we have the number 1, so one record was pulled from the automation. And here it has all of the data that we need. And you click the plus to see what is part of those arrays or groups of information. And each output is called a bundle. So if you have like 2 or 3 different clients or records that come through, they'll each have their own bundle or collection of data. And then arrays are groups of data. So here are our 4 linked records, and here's a cost. So you can see this cost has all of these extra 3s at the end of it, but on my client strategy page, it's only $45.58. So we're also going to create a module or use a module that's going to get rid of these extra digits behind the decimal point. This part might not be super relevant to you, but it's a good thing to know if ever you're using Make in the future. Now that that's done, we're going to use the Tools module down here, and we're going to select the Switch action, and the Switch action just switches the values from whatever's input, and it will switch it to a different output. So I'm going to input the cost variable, which is cost 1, and always make sure that when you're choosing a variable, you're choosing one that already has the writing in it that you know versus like a high level like this would be high level, but I want to make sure this information here is pulled. So I'm going to drag it here. And the use cases is the pattern is going to be the same as the cost. So this is going to be the common pattern. And the output, I want to use, Make has different other like formula and actions you can use to really get what you need out of data. So since this has all the decimal points, I'm going to use format number. And this first slot, I'm going to add again the variable, that's the cost. We're going to say 2 because this is the number after the decimal point I want to look at or end at. The next slot, we're going to put the decimal point, and then the last one is a comma because that's our thousands. And then we're going to leave this as blank. And I want to make a note to always have a variable in your inputs here, unless if you type something, that's what it's going to be every time the action runs. So unless you want it to run the same thing every time, do not write in the variables. I'm going to say okay. So that's done. Our next module would be convert the Markdown to HTML. So here it's already popped up because I've used it before, but you can search apps by typing them in. So Markdown to HTML. And my Markdown is going to be the strategy notes to the clients. And I want to make a note that over here you see more variables have been added to the list that you can pull from. Make groups each module's outputs into these drop-down lists so that you can use it throughout the scenario. So I'm going to drag this here. I'm going to leave this as sanitize no. You can see what's down here. You don't have to change any of this information and press OK. So that one's pretty simple. That will, again, convert the Markdown to HTML. Okay, now that Markdown is done, we are going to get all the associated or linked records from Airtable. So go ahead and add and do Airtable one more time. And this time you're going to click on Search Records. So you're going to search for your base, and I'm going to put in what I had last time, the software strategy clients. But this time the table I'm going to use is the software table instead of client because this is where my linked records came in from. And I'm going to say I want to look at the client software strategy view. Again, this is when I go over here to software, it's this one here. And you can see that the same client is part of 4 different software apps. So I want Make to look at this table. And then I select all the fields that I want from Airtable. So I want the name of the app, the plan, how much it costs, its frequency. Okay, so I have added all the fields that I wanted to collect. And I'm going to add a formula in here so that it finds only the appropriate client that I want. This is good if you might have a lot of different, in my case, let's say clients linked to the same software. I don't want that pooling the other client's information. So I'm going to say find, and then in quotation marks, I'm going to say the full name because that is the name here. And close those quotation marks, comma. I'm going to look in the client table. Oh, I don't want parentheses, I want curly brackets. And then I'm going to put 0 at the end of that. So this is going to search inside of this table, software table, for the full name, and it's going to connect the full name to the client table. We're going to change this limit number to, let's do something high, 50. And you want to make sure that the limit is greater than the number in your total base record count, because if it's only going to search for 10, let's say, and I have 50 apps, or let's say 40 apps that it needs to look through to see if this client is connected to any of those apps, it's only going to return 10. So putting this at 50, this is a greater number than what I have total apps in my database. Right, and then we're going to click Show Advanced Settings, scroll down, and I'm going to choose Use Column ID. And this is important because the column ID is a static number, whereas your column name can change and anybody can change it. If you don't use a column ID and you rather use the name of the column, then if that name changes, this automation won't work. So keep it at Use Column ID. Click OK. So the next thing we're going to do is grab the Word template that we need to make the report. It's going to look something like this. Of course, not designed how I did it, but your document should have placeholders for where you want to bring in the variables from your linked records or your table or whatever variable that you have in your scenario. But then the important part is this loop section, and the loop section has the curly brackets, hashtag, a keyword or key phrase, close the hashtag. That marks the beginning. That is your signal or trigger that the loop section is beginning. And so anything that you write beneath that is going to be considered part of the loop area. And then when you're finished that section, you close it off with the curly brackets / the same keyword or key phrase you used above. Close that off with the curly brackets. And that is your loop section. So anything in between those two keywords or key phrases is going to be repeated for each linked record in your document. If you add a header or a footer, those are also going to be repeated every page. So once you have done that and you saved it, now we're going to use Dropbox to download the file. So again, Dropbox pops up for me because I use it a lot. And I'm going to say download a file. And it's going to say, which way do you want to select? We're going to select the file path, and we're going to say the file here is under my MOHJU folder. All right, so this is the file here that I have. I'm going to press OK. Now I want to make a note that these numbers that are by the name of the modules, these are the numbers of when the module was added to the scenario. It is not going to change if you move the module around. It's always going to be the same number. Or if you delete a module and add another one, that module will just start from the next number. So as you can see, this one was 8 and this one was 10 because I had a module here that I deleted so that I can add the Dropbox here. So another thing that we can do is name our modules. That way we're never confused when we're looking at the list. So if I say switch, I can right click on here, click rename, and do change currency. And press OK. I'm going to name the rest of these modules and then jump back to where we left off. So we renamed all the modules. So now that we have the Word template, we're going to add another module. We're going to use the Microsoft Word templates. We're going to select Fill a document with a batch of data. We're going to choose the Linked Records module. Keep the file as what it is because it got it from this previous module. And then we're going to create a file name once it's finished or once it's saved. So I wanted to say the full name of my client plus software strategy, and exit out of this. So as I mentioned before, anything that you type into an input field, it's going to be static every time you run the action or the automation. So now this is the big part of this whole scenario. It's linking your placeholders from your document to the values in Make. So we're going to add the first value or item, and the value type is going to be the value. And the key is going to be the placeholder name or word that you used anywhere. So one of my first placeholders is client, and this is a placeholder that is outside of the loop section. The value type is value. The key is the placeholder word. And the value for this is the full name. And I have another placeholder outside of the loop section, so I'm going to add just another regular value. This one is called TMC. And the value for this one is going to be the total monthly cost. So I'm looking over here where I changed the currency, the switch, and I'm going to pull that down as output. Now the next item that we're going to add will actually begin the loop section on my template. So wherever your loop section starts, when you add the item, instead of just adding it as value, you're going to use the loop or section value type. And then this key phrase or key right here is the word that you use with the hashtag and the /. So in my case, I put software to indicate or to trigger the loop section. And under value, we're going to add an entry. This entry just basically is software, this one here. And all of the items under entry, this is where we have to add all the placeholders that are in the software or the loop section. So you start off with the placeholder. So I have a name as one of the first placeholders in the loop. And I'm going to pull it from my linked records module. So it's going to say name. And the next value that we'll add, or the next item, is going to be plan. And I'm going to pull it from here. And I want to make a note that when you're adding items, that you're careful to add it under the entry nested level, which is the third level from item number 3 up here. You don't want to accidentally add it under the second level or item 1 directly under value, because it won't be part of your loop section. So we're going to continue on. I have quite a few different placeholders, so I'm going to speed through that and then resume after I'm finished. Okay, so I've added all the placeholders from my Word template, and I'm going to click OK. Now we're going to add another module, and this one will be called the Dropbox. Another Dropbox module, and it's going to be uploaded file right down here. And as you can see, it quickly grabbed the last file in the sequence. So that was the Microsoft Word we just completed. And this time we're going to add where we want to have this file uploaded to. So for me, I'm just going to put it in here. And then I'm going to click Show Advanced Settings. And I'm going to leave Overwrite an existing file to No. And press OK. Now, to give Dropbox a few seconds to upload it, we're going to add a sleep module, and that's one of our tools. So again, down here at the bottom, and this time find sleep, or type it into the search to find it. And we're going to change the delay to 20 seconds. You can put whatever number you want here. It just gives Dropbox time to completely upload the file before the sequence or the scenario continues on. Sometimes, like if you don't have a wait and it's not finished uploading, the next steps will not work. So now with that done, we're going to add another Dropbox module. And this module is going to be move a document or a file. And this is where I had mentioned earlier in the intro that having a Dropbox folder that automatically converts a file to PDF is necessary for this step. So at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a GIF of how to do that, but I'm going to assume that you guys already have done that. So we're going to leave this at map to a folder or file, and this time we're going to pull in the file path, and that's going to be the file path display from the previous Dropbox module. And again, with the folder selections, and I'm not going to give it a new name, but feel free to change the name of it if you'd like. And then, okay. So again, we're going to give Dropbox 20 seconds to make that move. Twenty seconds. All right, and now what we'll do is look for the file that we just moved. So create another Dropbox module. Go to Search Files and Folders. We're going to search for the file name. If you changed it in the previous module, type in the name or whatever you changed it to. I didn't, so I'm going to go with the original name that I had created. And I'm going to, again, do this folder selection. And this time I'm going to look for a PDF file. So I'm just going to click PDF here. You can also do it here, but I'm going to do it there. And I'm just going to make this maybe 5. And press OK. Now let's save this. We did a lot of work, so let's save it. Make this not auto-save your scenarios. So be sure that when you're creating really complex scenarios, you're clicking save periodically. I'm also going to name the rest of these modules that I haven't named yet. So I finished naming the modules. So this next module will be to create the link to the PDF, the finished version. So we're going to add another Dropbox module. And this time it's going to be create/update a share link. And we are going to use the map of file folder path. And this time we're going to use the path lower variable from the last module. And then we're going to change the link access view to viewer, or you can change it to however way you want it to be. And I'm not going to add expiration dates or require a password or any of this, but we are going to say allow download. So we're going to keep that as yes, and then press OK. So now that we have the downloaded link, we will add that link back to the Airtable record. And my Airtable view that looks right here where it's a blank, the record link will be added here. So we're going to add an Airtable module, and this time it's going to say update a record. And we are going to grab from the base, we'll do the base is the software strategy. My table is the client. This is where, and the record ID is the original ID from the very first module right here, your record ID number. So we're going to scroll down to where it says final report or whatever field you might want to add the final URL to. And I'm going to say URL, and that will fill in the field. And that's all I want to do from here. And I'm going to press OK. And now I'm going to add this report and my notes to an email. And I like very designed emails. So this is what my email template looks like. And I use Drippo to create this and then export the HTML code so I can insert it into this next module. So with whatever your email provider is, mine is Microsoft, so I'm just going to do 365 mail, Microsoft 365 email, and I am going to create and send a message, and I will add my subject, so this will be like full name, your report is ready, and the body content is going to be the HTML code. So this is all of the code, and I'm only going to look for in my design where I want to plug in the information. So right here, instead of saying first name, I'm going to change this. Let me just make a note that I copied and pasted this from another scenario. So inside of the original code, I just put a little placeholder word here so that I know what to look for. So I'm going to put the full name. Actually, I'm just going to put the first name because I want to make it sound personal. So this is Major, first name. And then I look for the other placeholders in the text or in the HTML code. There's one, but here's the other one. So the download URL. So here it's just a button that says download. So I am going to pull in my URL from not the URL, but the one that says download URL, because this is where they will be able to just see it as a PDF versus a Dropbox file. And then further down, I had another section for my notes, my strategy notes. So I want to make sure that I'm pulling out my strategy notes, and this will be my HTML right here. So we pull it all the way over here, and that is the end. Let me press close out of this. Scroll down to recipients, add the email address of your recipient, and then a name if you wish, and then press OK. All right, so the email is done. And zoom out. Look at everything here, press save. I do want to make a mention of this area right here. Because this is drawing from a linked record and looping through each time, it has this gray kind of dead zone around it. This means that once this data is locked in, so all the data from this module, all the data from this module is locked in and cannot be used further down the line. So you never want to put in a module in between your looped area if you need that information elsewhere. So if I was to move this add to Dropbox before, I cannot use that upload file in this module because it's locked in to, let's just say, this click. So just make sure whatever your loops are, it's only those required modules that are right next to each other. So now, before we test it, I'm going to update the record, the client record. And because this has export to PDF, when we ran it the first time, I'm going to just check it again and then add an email. So the email is sent to me. And then we're going to run the scenario one time and see what happens. As that goes through, you can see this link to 4 linked records, each with its own bundle, each operation. All right, so it is finished. It's a green all the way through, and that means that everything was sent. Let's check the report. The report is here. And look, every placeholder is filled. Loop section 1, loop section 2, loop section 3 and 4. Each software was added. Perfect. And then we're going to take a look at the email. So here is the version of the email. Has the name, the button, the notes with it kept the paragraph sections. And let's double check the button if it's working. Perfect. The button worked. The client can download it and click around and use the report. Okay, that concludes this tutorial. Thank you for watching. At the end of this clip, there will be a short video showing how to use Dropbox's automations for their folders if you don't already know how to do that. Otherwise, remember to like the video and subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials on automations, software, and process improvement for your business. See you soon.